And we're back with the top 4 of the Demon Rush Championship Series. Only one evil player remains and 3 holy players today in this video. David Hernandez, with his stunning upset win against Justin the Gatekeeper, will move on fighting against Stephen Gray, who both of these players have gotten feature matches. And in the background, under the feature match lights, we have Brandon Stillwell versus Joey Bellafiore. Holy King, Holy Grail versus Evil. That video is going to be coming tomorrow, but for today we will focus on these 2 holy titans who have wiggled their way through this playing field to get into the top 4, each securing $500 minimum and a chance to progress and win $5,000. The game started off, we didn't record the first few seconds here, but what happened was David played Church, Stephen Gray used Chains on it, David used Divine to return the Church back to his hand, played it again, played Prayer Beads, and ended his turn at 4. Now Stephen will try to play his own Church, and it will get contradicted. And that's not good for Stephen. In a holy mirror match, whichever player has a structure is going to be dominating. And neither of these players actually run Tower. They only run Church. That was a huge surprise to us, because we've been running Tower forever. It's a really good counter against C. Pasley. Tower with Wolves is the easy way to just win the game. And Stephen will drop Ancient Coin, draw a card, and pass his turn. But now, David, who has a Church, can start to make some big plays. But he does not have Wolves, so what will he do? Discards Forgotten Coin, does not get anything back. One of the downsides of running 3 Forgotten Coin, many times you're forced to do that. Just Soren to discard a Forgotten Coin with no target in it.
It's a big brother thing. I got you, Mike. I know his little brother do that.
And it looks like David punched Stephen for 1 damage, taking first blood here in this top 4 match. Out comes the Spirit Wolf. Will David shut it down? He does body the Spirit Wolf. And that's why you don't body the Spirit Wolf. That exact reason. There's always a good chance they have another one in their hand and you're just gonna lose a body. Oh my goodness, he uses Chains and Stephen responds with the Wolf effect and gets a search anyway. This is exactly why you don't waste defense on Wolves. David literally just threw away Chains and Body Obstruct for nothing. That was quite a big misplay, especially with the Chains.
Give me a card, please.
And he desperately needs a soldier here. There, he got one. If this goes through, could be huge.
4. On attack deck, I'll Prayer Beads.
So on attack declaration, Stephen will use Prayer Beads to try and draw something for damage. And David's got to activate effect here. He has a contradict. That's probably good. I think Stephen only has 2 Imperium left. Oh! And he has an Exodus live. Oh, that's right, because he Prayer Beads to get that +1. So he should be at 0 now. And he is able to stop the Pavana from drawing. That leaves David with only 1 card in his hand, so... And he's struggling now to get over this Pavana, who's at 9. And I don't think... Okay, David has 3 Imperium, 1 card in hand. I'm not sure what that card is. Might be a Forgotten Coin. Jacob comes out.
Jacoby. He's my boy.
He's a boy.
He is a boy.
What are you at?
I'm at. What do you mean? I'm at 7.
Bro, I can't tell that. This is gibberish.
What do you want from me?
Hieroglyphics.
Stephen wanted to use his special mat, which obviously doesn't have Imperium slots on it, so he drew Imperium slots on a piece of paper and was literally using it on the side off camera. And David was like, "What is this jank? I can't read how much Imperium you have." Yeah, there was some complaints after the tournament that, it was hard to see the opponent's players' Imperium if they weren't using a playmat. And so I think for tournaments moving forward, I'm going to make it mandatory that you use a official Demon Rush playmat, just so it makes it easier to see the Imperium. Like, for example, David's dice are tiny, black, like it's hard to see, hard to read. And I agree with that. I think players should be using Demon Rush playmats. I didn't require it for this tournament, but I think I will for the next one.
Oh. No, it's Vanquish. Yeah, Vanquish.
So the Exodus Pavana, or Pavana gets Exodus again. Oof, and David Sorens and discards contradicts. He must have some very important cards in his hand in order to do that. I'm guessing he has something to shut down Jacob. Body here, maybe. Or Exodus. Wow, and he lets the Jacob go through and get the body obstruct. I'm very surprised here. I'm not sure what David is doing. Discarding Contradict with Soren is extremely suboptimal. That's probably one of the best cards. It's literally probably the best card in the game is Contradict. So it's very surprising to see him discard that. Blessed Cat coming out for Stephen Gray here. Still not enough damage to get over that Pavana, who's a big fat body and pretty much the only thing keeping David alive right now. It's just a fat body that David cannot get over. His deck does seem to struggle to get over big bodies. We saw in his battle against Brandon, he was struggling to get over the 10-strength Judd. And I'm sure if there's greater beings, Stephen's deck would probably struggle a lot with greater beings. Cosmic energies don't work on it, and he'd need like 2 Renees and 3 Renees essentially to get over a greater being. Or a Chains of Destruction or something.
I had a card to apply pressure.
So Stephen's own Pavana comes out. Finally, he has enough damage. But I'm sure David has a respawn here. And yeah, Chains will come out. Pavana gets destroyed by Chains of Destruction. That will be a replay. I'm pretty surprised that Stephen didn't have anything to stop that. But unfortunately, David's Pavana is Exodus, so he's not going to be accruing those pluses he wanted. Sorens and discards Church, doesn't need that anymore. Can see he has a body obstruct in his hand. Will use it on the cat. He has a Divine in his hand as well. So I think that's what he had in his hand when he discarded the Contradict. I guess he wanted double defense. He wanted body Divine in his hand. Kind of makes sense. I don't see any other way that you can just discard Contradict unless those are the 2 cards in your hand, and you're just trying to protect the Pavana. And I think he just let Jacob get body because Pavana's not going to be activating anymore, so he's not too worried about it. But Forgotten Coin comes out, and then Pavana, and Stephen will go for the attack again. He could divine his own Pavana. Instead, he goes for the body play. And David draws for turn. Uses Soren effect. Discards Forgotten Coin. Gets Dorn. But Stephen has the body still, I believe. But he is at 1 because he used Soren and Pavana. So the sleeping potion will shut down the Dorn. He baited that pretty nicely. Divines Dorn for free, plays him again. Finally gets out the Pavana with effect now. Since it switched piles, it reset its effects. And Pavana effect is good and Cat effect is good. Both players will draw, or at least David will draw and Stephan will get Jacob. Now, David is going to drop dangerously low here to 1 Imperium.
No, just put me up one.
Oh, you're right. You're correct.
So he's going to drop down to 1 Imperium and play Renee. Go for a little bit of damage here. But that may be what he needs. If he has a Sleeping or Divine in his hand, or both, this game could be over, actually. It's pretty surprising. David had like 1 card left in hand and an Exodus Pavana. He had like nothing left. But he got very lucky that Stephan did not have an answer to the Pavana and just had to play Cat and pass. He got some Jacobs off, but he just let that big body sit there and he couldn't get rid of it. Forgotten Coin comes out for Stephan, gets his own Pavana again. These guys are desperately trying to trade Pavanas, but the problem is that David has Church and Stephan does not. Pavana coming out, attacking Dorn. Looks like it's going to go through. But that's another target for him to draw off of next turn. With the Church, he can just straight up run his Pavana over Stephan's Pavana, draw 1, replenish 1, and Stephan going from 1 Imperium to 3 with both Pavana and Prayer Beads. And looks like he has got 7 cards in hand, so he's sitting pretty, but he is low on health here. And he just needs to survive for 1 more turn, pretty much. We've seen Stephan extremely reserved in using his defense in this game. He lets his opponent seemingly just walk over him for like the first half of the game while he just accrues tons of pluses, and he waits for a big play where he can get the maximum value out of all of his cards and then tries to win the game. It is, in my opinion, playing with fire because things happen and you can get outsped, but this is his style and seems to be working really well for him so far. Pavana makes the attack. I'm sure Stephan's got something here. Looks like they played Cosmic Energy and it was contradicted. That'll leave Stephan with 1. He divines the Pavana, but he can just play the Pavana again and go to 0. So he looks like he wanted to force that. Ooh, and Stephan did not like that Prayer Beads because I think he was really trying to force David to go to 0, and that prayer with the Prayer Beads and Pavana, he's now back up to 3 and got that free draw and killed Pavana. So he just netted a lot of pluses and has the Imperium to defend. This is going to be very scary for Stephan. He's in pretty bad position here. And if David has defense, I don't really see how Stephan can win. This is kind of the issue with playing so slow, is you can just get into a really bad spot where it's you have to kind of burn your hand just to get out of the spot, and all those pluses you had. Dorn comes out, so if he does get Pavana, that's pretty huge for him. He can run over David's Pavana with Dorn and Pavana here.
Cody Gray gonna slow play me for 30 minutes.
Oh, how many people just laughed there, yo? Chill out.
That's so funny.
Does go for the team attack into Pavana. I'm sure he's going to activate effect here.
Thinking I might not.
Yeah, he's wondering, he's debating if he should activate Pavana's effect to draw and replenish, because if she gets body obstructed, he might lose in the next turn just to raw attacks. So it seems like he is not activating. It's not worth drawing a card to lose the game.
Is that game on, Joey?
He's got a Lightning Blast the Church.
How much mana do you have?
even up the board, keep his Bhavana out there to stay safe. And what's David going to do? I'm assuming he's just going to play another Dorn into another Pavana, another church.
Sure, man.
And Stephan gives it WTF. All that work to get rid of church, and then he just plays another one. Another ancient coin coming out, and
He's a weirdo, is what he is.
this is what David's deck does. His mid-game, his deck is incredibly strong mid-game. Just everything activates and turns online. All those late-game coins are huge. The Dorns are huge. And triple Renee comes out now. I think that's going to seal the deal.
You take 7.
Oh, okay. Go to 2.
Okay.
There's no way I win this. There's like, it's not possible. Church?
Wait, you suck at church.
Go to 6.
Yeah, facing triple Renee Cat with church is just, what are you supposed to do? The only thing that can get over that is like double Cipasli and just wipe the board.
Thinking if I have a wolf to search.
Goes for Renee Wolf. Doesn't have any more targets to search, but he can resurrect them and build some bodies to protect his health.
I'll wolf.
He does not have enough with this to get over a single Renee. So he does need one more point of damage. He does have a body obstruct in his hand.
15-minute time extension for top 4.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't care.
I don't care.
Final year, you're going to more time, right? I don't could be here all night, man.
Wait, so you're giving
I'll
them...
attack into this right now.
Okay, so 25 on me.
And there comes a body obstruct.
25 on me.
Has to get one of those Renees off the board. He's going to go for the cat. Oh, wow. He bodies that. I would think he would body another Renee. But he doesn't want David to get Dorn and then Dorn to get Pavana.
Like no time.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It is actually kind of more threatening.
No, I don't want to sit here watching you guys for 6 hours for the final match.
Oh, that's valid.
You're going to sit there looking.
He could have also saved the body and
The guy just faints at the table.
waited
Look at happened with King, man.
to see if David would play the Dorn first, maybe crash his cat and then search Dorn and play it, and then it would get bodied. But
Did I keep you off the ground?
Last night I ended up being so.
the only problem with bodying the cat there is, you know, what if he draws the Dorn? And then it didn't hurt him at all.
It's just as good as those.
Together and like, there's a couple guys that like, apparently the more targets it's like a little bit ghetto.
One Renee goes down,
Later on the night, like it gets like
activates Jacob. It's probably good. And it's crazy to me to see how Stephan is down to one card.
I have 2 life.
How many matches I've watched with this guy, and he's just sitting with 8 cards in his hand like all game, and then there seems to be some inflection point where he gets under too much pressure, he burns his hand, and he loses. I've seen it happen. This is like the 3rd time I've seen that happen to him. So these guys are gonna side and go into game 2.
No.
Skipped ahead, but I think they only sided like 2 or 3 cards each.
Like 0 time.
Okay. It felt like that was a long ass game.
It wasn't that long.
I'll go first.
You said I'm going first?
I said you smell.
It was a pretty long game. That was about 17 minutes, 18 minutes.
Okay, dang, relax.
No.
Chill,
I didn't mean it like that. I'll play church.
And now Stephan will start with church.
I'll play privy.
Church prayer beads, just such a broken combo because you replenish back up to 8 and you have that structure, and now you can Jacob and go to 3 and get prayer beads back. I mean, that's just unbelievably strong opening play.
I completely forgot I had that.
Yeah. Same thing good?
Yeah, everything's fine.
You could have contradicted when I played it.
So David wasn't paying attention, didn't contradict the church on its play, but he decided to contradict the church once Jacob came out.
On your draw stuff, I'll privy.
And Stephan says, okay, I'm chaining prayer beads anyway, replenish the 2, and now David tries to play his own church, and Stephan lightning blasted. That's going to be brutal for David.
I'll attempt to divine. Oh wait.
But at least he doesn't have to face an opposing church.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that was big.
But Renee is just, she comes out and she's such a good killer of Jacob. Like, Renee is kind of like the perfect answer to get rid of Jacob. Your opponent can't divine her. You just play her again, and she's very hard to stop. You know, do you want to waste a sleeping potion on that? Not really. Maybe an Exodus, but she's just such a safe, reliable way to kill enemy Jacobs.
So unbearable. Play Renee.
David's own Renee will come out.
Sort of thing.
And then activates Soren, discarding Forgotten Coin, getting Jacob. Interesting as to why he played the Renee first. You would think you would want a Soren first, and if your hand changes, you might have a more optimal play, but
I'll play it for
I think that's what he was thinking about doing it. You play Renee and then you prayer beads.
play Bless Cat, good 5.
These guys have very similar decks. They did a lot of testing with each other for this tournament. Stephan told me they were up to about 3 or 4 a.m. the night before play testing, and at the last minute, David changed to this Open the Dorn deck. But they did a lot of play testing together, and they were running the same sort of Renee control deck initially. As you can see, the decks still do share a lot of similarities, but David's deck does not run Wolf, and he runs 3 Dorn. And Stephan runs 3 Wolves and only 1 Dorn. There is a lot of other differences in their decks as well, especially considering David runs all these big bodies. And the question is, does he want to kill those cats? Neither player wants to kill each other's cats, and the Renees are keeping them both alive. He'll use body to take out the Renee. And it goes through, but I'm sure David doesn't care. He's got Jacob with Forgotten Coin in there. He can use Jacob, get Forgotten, Soren, discard the Forgotten, get Renee. And I have a feeling this is going to be a very long game. A lot of recursion here. These players are just deck thinning and drawing like crazy while keeping floaters on their board to protect their health, and nobody's going to want to kill each other's cats because that will just give their opponent the opportunity to, there it is, get some Jacobs or Dorns or whatever. And so they're just going to leave these cats on board and wait for something. Stephan just infinite cards right now with all those Forgotten Coins.
I'll play Jacob. I'll go to 3.
Jacob comes out, putting him at 3. That's pretty interesting. He wants to have enough damage to kill Renee with this. Does an attack for 7 and then an attack for 6. And David's going to let it go, even though he does have Divine in his hand. And because he knows that Stephan's just going to pass, he's not going to use that Jacob and go to 0. So he just lets it die. Probably has a Forgotten Coin. These guys both running 3. They don't mind when their soldiers die. Oh, there's an Ancient Coin. And another Renee comes out. That will allow him to kill Jacob.
I'll attempt to Exodus.
Exodus coming out. Probably the best answer for Renee in the whole game. Stop her attack and get rid of her effect. And then you can just run over her next turn. David can divine her and play her again, but wow, he's going to let him keep the Jacob. That's very surprising to me. I mean, Stephan was at 0, and he could have stopped the Jacob, but he just let him keep it.
Over the Renee. Cards in.
Exodus Renee is finally going down.
Over the cap.
And the cat will get the effect, probably getting Dorn, or Jacob gets Dorn.
H5, Jacob effect, target, Exodus.
And then gets that free Exodus. I don't think David can allow that. Last turn when Stephen's at 0, he's got to divine his Exodus. In response to Exodus, he's got to divine his Renee, play her again, and kill Jacob. He has to. Like, you cannot, absolutely under any circumstances, let your opponent get free Jacobs, because they will completely destroy you in 2 turns. They'll just keep recurring Exodus, sleeping, body, whatever, and you just can't play any soldiers. Like, you just lose.
You didn't draw for turn already? No. Yeah, you're good. It was the search, that's what did it. Yeah. Also, I never cut this.
David has a massive hand here, though. Both players really do.
5 mana. Yep.
It's 1-0.
He got one.
Forgotten coin.
Yep.
Renee.
You're at your 8 though, right?
Yeah, I haven't done anything.
You started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Soren's Forgotten Coins for Renee. He'll drop down to 6 Imperium, and that should be enough for him to get over Jacob. The Exodus comes out again. Will he make the Divine play this time? No. And now his Dorn gets shut down by Body Obstruct. And that's going to go through as well, leaving him at 1 Imperium, and that Jacob will get another card, probably Exodus. And with that, he can just continually keep his Jacob alive and keep the Renees negated, and that's too devastating. That's why you can't let Jacob just continually get it. He had the opportunity to kill that Jacob, and he didn't take it, and he's probably gonna lose because of this. Now he will divine the Jacob so that he doesn't get the Exodus, but now the Jacob's in his hand, and he'll have it for the future. So that's really suboptimal. Wolves will come out, and the weenie beatdown continues. Soren's for Forgotten Coin again. This unbelievable recursion in this deck. Never-ending Renees. And he finally, no, he gets rid of a wolf, not the Jacob. Jacob is going to probably come back again next turn. But he has a pretty big hand online with 6 Imperium. But I think just the Jacob getting back Exodus twice was just too much, I think. And he has enough damage on the board to just run over an A with no spells needed. Goes for Divine on Jacob, I believe. And he will just play him again. That Divine not doing God's work here. Really not doing much.
What's the first best game ever made?
David's taking minuses to try and stop Jacob, but he's unstoppable in this game.
It's just Ocarina of Time for sure, right? It's obviously just Ocarina of Time. Best video game ever.
Pavana comes out, tries to attack Jacob. Wow, that does go through. Stephan acting like he's got the Body Obstruct ready and playing mind games with David. Are you sure you want to activate effect? I love it. I love the mind games in Demon Rush. There's a lot of bluffing and mind game. He did have it the whole time. Look at that. He baited that perfectly. He acted like he was just joking, but he really did have the body. And David could have said no effect, but he kind of had to there, I think. I mean, I think he still has quite a bit of life, but it's going to go down super quick now as Stephan takes the lead in this game.
Demon Rush players, you have 25 minutes left.
One thing we've seen from David is that he really only has like 1 or 2 plays a turn, and he really does not run replenish. And that has hurt him a lot in some of these feature matches. He can play Pavana and pass. He can play like 2 Dorns and pass, but he doesn't have the kind of go big OTK kind of play in his deck unless he gets out Yamra with like 2 Dorns in his cemetery.
If we can get enough entries to pay off the 10K, we could hold this shit all the time.
You probably need to raise the entry. Like raise it to like 50. Well, most card games like do like 50. For 10K?
For 10K, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, Magic does $50 for 10K.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I will continue to play this card game regardless, but it is massive. That would be a nice approach. I'll definitely invest a lot more.
Honestly, like, I was hoping the 10K would entice more people to play, but I guess I just like kind of underestimated the economy. Like, people are super hesitant to get into the game. But if they see people, like, if it becomes the player's game, like, other players will come because they really care more about the community than anything. Like, they'll play a game that has a huge bustling community of top players. Like, it's engaging.
It's also a slow train, you know what I mean? Competing against other ones, it's a slow train.
David will use Soren for Ancient Coin.
I feel like you just have done that every time.
You build
Plays Church. Gets contradicted.
And when that second set
Wait, what just
I'm surprised he contradicted that. I think at this point it really depends on life points, because if Stephan has enough damage to kill David or wipe out his life points on the next turn, then he should probably save his contradict for that. But he's just trying to shut down David's resources right now, and it's working. So he plays very differently than I do. That's something I mentioned on one of the previous feature matches, that Stephan plays like, when I look at his hand, I'm always thinking, oh, I would do this, then this, then this, and he thinks in a completely different direction than I do. And that's okay. And that's one of the greatest things about Demon Rush is that, you know, when you look at your opening hand, you have so many different options, so many different pathways you can take, and it's really up to each player to play the pathway that they think is best. That's why there's so much skill involved in this game. You kind of have to think 3 turns ahead. You have to make educated guesses as to your opponent's hand and play your hand accordingly. And huge skill cap in this game, unbelievably high. And we've seen that a lot of these really talented players still make misplays, even at the highest level. So Stephan will just chip David down, finally take him out, and we will go on to game 3. A costly misplay, in my opinion, from David, just letting that Jacob stay on the board, I think
If I
just
like,
absolutely
better,
crushed him. Letting Stephan get Exodus back twice was just too much.
Are near me, like, is that good enough?
Did have the opportunity to kill that Jacob, but he decided to go for more conservative play, and this is what I'm talking about. So he had Divine in his hand, and he could have Divined his Renee, played her again, and killed the Jacob, but his method of thinking was, I need to save this Divine for something. He was worried about something on David's turn, or on Stephan's turn. I'm not sure what it is. Divine is really not the best target for Jacob, because yeah, I waste 6 Imperium, but if you bounce him, I get +1. You lost the Divine and I lost nothing. So it's really not a great optimal target for Divine Intervention. That's why I think he should have just bounced his Renee and ran over instead.
Demon Rush top 4, that is 20 minutes left. 20 minutes left.
And, okay, well, Stephan will use Divine to shut down the Jacob from getting Prayer Beads back, but Stephan loses Divine, and David is up +1 cards now. He gets to keep his Jacob, so it doesn't hurt him. And now Stephen's own Jacob comes out. I guess he did that because... Okay, never mind. I thought he was going to do that to get the Divine back. Then the play would make a little bit more sense, but...
I know.
He still may do that.
I have one.
He's going to attack for 3 health damage. And the question is, will he get his prayer beads back or his Divine?
Oh, wait, I did this the wrong way. Not that it matters.
It does not matter.
I'll attempt this effect, target Divine.
He does go for the Divine, and it gets bodied. And now he's going to have to face a Jacob,
Sworn effect.
You haven't done that?
who both... He has Body Obstruct and Ancient Coin in his cemetery. So David's Jacob is threatening next turn, and that's why Stephan is Sorening here, going dangerously low. No doubt looking for an answer for that Jacob.
Cards in hand?
6. I have no mana. This is...
I'll play this one. I'll pass.
So I believe he's at 1 Imperium now. He did Jacob, Soren, Renee, Prayer Bead. So I believe he's at 1 Imperium. And ooh, that's huge for David.
Yeah, that card.
Discards Armoros for the rest of the game. He will get +1 Imperium limit. That is actually massive for him. And here comes the Jacob. He'll probably get Body or Ancient Coin. I mean, or it has to be one of the two. Or Prayer Beads. But I would probably go for the Body. He decides to go for Prayer Beads. There's a lot of theory crafting that goes on. Like, do I get the Prayer Beads? Do I get defense? In my opinion, just from playing a lot with Brandon, I think going for defense is a lot stronger than going for Prayer Beads. Unless that Prayer Beads will give you enough Imperium that it activates a second defense in your hand. Because that Prayer Beads can just draw you into some junk, like another Prayer Beads or something you don't need, a second structure that when you already have one out. I think it's better to just get the defense, replace Jacob with a defense, and defense is the hardest thing to get through in this game. It's not really the draw power. It's when you get shut down by double or triple defense that you usually lose. Sometimes the game is based on card advantage, but it's usually whoever's big play gets shut down more will lose the game. And there comes the Dorn. Putting David at 4, so he could play another Dorn. He gets Yamura. That's huge. If he had any replenish here, he could go crazy, but he doesn't run it.
This can't even out Renee effect.
Yeah, Yamura can't get through Renee.
I'll contradict.
Wow, and huge response link chain here. David tries to body the Renee. Stephan contradicts. David contradicts the contradict. And Stephan contradicts the contradicted contradict. So, Stephan will win in that trade, keep his Renee alive, and here comes the second Renee. And that has just enough to get over that Yamura. That's huge for him. He didn't have to commit anything, really. Gets Yamura off the board because Yamura is a huge scary threat. Cannot, absolutely, under any circumstances, let Yamura sit on the battlefield. You will lose next turn.
That's broken.
And Stephan dropping coins like crazy. Plays Church. He is juiced right now. Double Renee with Church and 6 cards in hand or something. I mean, he is sitting pretty. And David desperately needs... David discards Forgotten Coin, targets Jacob.
I would just like crash my Dorn.
Oh, you drew it, so it's like awkward. Oh. Yeah, go for it.
Alright, so these two are playing friendly. Basically, David wanted to crash his Dorn and then Forgotten Coin so he could get the Dorn back. But I guess he didn't do that? He took the Jacob anyway, I guess, because he misplayed.
Yeah, I have 0. I am churched up though.
And Stephan is at 0. Exodus, Prayer Beads.
Oh, that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Little bit of fumbling misplays here, but these players are friends. They're not holding each other accountable for the misplays. They're just having a good time. They're still playing their best. It's nice to see the players let each other play optimally. You know, you could easily say it's a tournament for a lot of money. You you made that mistake. I'm not letting you take it back. But these players are playing like gentlemen. They want to have an optimal match, and they're doing some takebacks here to make sure things go correctly. And Renee goes down. Jacob comes out.
Oh wait, I'll hit first.
Jacob punches for a few points of damage, and then Stephan 3 contradicts in this game. I mean, it's just over. Like, those contradicts are just way too strong early game. From my experience playing this game, like, if a player opens double contradict, they usually win. It's just that strong of a card. And Stephan opened 3 contradicts here with Jacob.
I don't even care who wins this game anymore.
I guess he doesn't.
I get to play Joey in the final.
All right, now I'm gonna win. Now I'm literally gonna win.
He said.
Yeah, you're crazy. Effect. Entry point.
Yep.
More coins coming out from both these players. It's absolutely crazy how much recursion both these decks have.
Yes.
They are just never-ending stream of drawing and recursion. And in games like this, every play is so critical. The game will last a long time, and every little move as these players slowly try to chip each other down and get the lead is incredibly important. So David played Dorn, got Yamra, and Stephan bounced the Yamra back to his hand, so that will shut it down from being Dorn back again. And that's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I'm so lit right now. What the fuck? Yeah.
So now the cat goes off. He gets a Dorn, but he cannot Dorn for Yamra anymore.
That was the getting rid of it.
You got Dorn.
I would have gone out.
I'll Jacob target the
Well, I was fine. It's just he had nothing to kill
and
him.
then I'll hit you for 12.
So I would have had
You'll go to fucking
13.
I'll pass with 3 up.
And I just don't see how David can get over this board. I mean, the Renees and Jacobs chipping him down. Stephan just a hand full of defense. And David really only has 1 or 2 plays a turn, and then he just has to pass. No Godfreys in his deck, I think, is hurting him. Does get a Pavana out. Will it get through Jacob, though? I'm assuming Stephan has an Exodus here or some sort of defense. He has Divine. Not optimal, but if he keeps his Jacob alive, it's over. And there's the Contradict, so Pavana will get through Jacob, and I'm assuming David will activate here. And it is good.
How do I shit on you? But I lose. He drew.
David passes with 3 Imperium.
Dude, Joey always
Has a sleeping potion in his hand.
Every time we test against him, he's just like, Archon, I'm just like, I can't. How is this testing? Like,
I would have won, but he top decked Bone Mac to get over my head.
he'd be doing that too. Let's go.
Cat comes out for 1 Imperium. That 1 cost Cat is just nasty. And same with 1 cost Renee. Church finally being taken out. But it might be too late. And Stephan has enough to get over Pavana, but David does have a sleeping potion with 1 Imperium. I think it's worth to sleep. Yeah, it's worth to sleep here and keep your Pavana. But I think Stephan could use Jacob and get Contradict here or something if he...
I guess
Some sort of out.
this guy anyways. And then I'll
Does have an Exodus in his hand.
target Divine. And I'll pass.
And now he does have an Exodus in his hand, so he has double defense online. I guess he will Exodus the Renee and Divine any other threat that comes out. It'd be nice if he could keep his Jacob alive. But David does have a pretty big hand. Pavana attacks Jacob, and he lets it go through. Cares more about his Renees than his Jacob, I guess. I mean, if he Exodus the Pavana, Renee would have came out and killed the Jacob, so he could have divined his own Jacob and then Exodus Pavana and kept everything alive, I guess.
Oh, one of these
But
is Exodus. I Exodus like forever ago.
Okay. So you want one of them dead?
I guess,
You're
yeah.
just sleeping the one that
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah. My bad, dude.
I don't fucking. We should.
This is why-
What cards were Exodus?
yeah, this is why we tap
This
cards
is Exodus too.
when cards are Exodus, when they've attacked and used their effects. If you just play like this, like how these guys are playing without tapping their cards, it's very easy to forget
That's already activated.
what happened previously. Has something been Exodus? Has something used its effect? If you have a really long turn. So
You're right. You're right.
I encourage people to quarter tap your card if it's attacked or uses its effect, and then full tap the card if it's attacked and used its effect.
4 mana.
And the purpose of that is just to keep the game clean so that people don't forget that, like, you already used Jacob or you already attacked with Godfrey or whatever, like later on in the turn if they had some very long turn. And these guys are suffering from that now. They're not tapping their cards. It's in the rules as like encouraged,
Oh, I'm only at 10 now.
but I might have to make it like an official rule so people
Sword.
follow it. And Stephan gets Forgotten Coin into another Renee. Infinite recursion on Renees, both of these decks. That is pretty much the entire point.
Let's try to Exodus or Renee.
Exodus comes out on Renee, that will cause a replay. And David has 6 Imperium, and I think he just ended his turn.
No, there's still got time.
6 minutes. Jesus, hurry up, bro. Sure.
Okay, he divines the Renee in response to Exodus, and then gets the attack through finally. And then passes.
Oh, me to hurry up.
David finally in a good position here to start building board. Seems like he has more cards in his hand. His cemetery is filled up with all the good stuff. He's got a Renee protecting him. Doran comes out. Probably go for Pavana. There she is.
I love getting on and it's like 7 messages you have to go up and then you just
Baby crying in the background. Listen, little kid, this is the Demon Rush Championship, right? This is serious business. Please take that screaming child away from here. Thank you.
Cards in it. You have 4 mana.
So, I guess Stephan is thinking if he wants to respond to Pavana. Responds to her attack to Sleeper. And that will both keep one of his Renees alive and prevent Pavana from drawing a card. David's just down to 4 Imperium though. And he just passes. Stephan Soren's another Forgotten Coin. My God.
3 Forgotten Coin in my hand too.
3 forgotten coins.
Oh, you perfect.
Yeah, I'm at 9.
George said it's like all you turns.
And he has enough to get over Pavana. Attacks with everything into her. Still 8 Imperium left with a pretty big hand. What will it do next? Jacob play? Get defense. Here comes the Jacob. Jacob can kill Dorn. And then he's got a whole arsenal of spells in his cemetery. I mean, he could get sleeping. I think he has sleeping in there. I think he has body. I think he's got everything. But Jacob gets bodied. And again, David here with a good chance to turn this game around right here. Stephan is down to 2, I believe. And David has a really good opportunity, if he can get rid of those Renees somehow, to start tilting this game in his favor. But he's been under pressure the entire game from Renees and Cats and Jacobs. Church comes out.
I thought you said bunch of these.
Oh, no, just one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, effect. Oh, wait.
He plays Church in damage step.
Wait. No, I'm trolling. I'm trolling. I'm actively trolling. You're tilting me. Effect.
So that's one Renee effect down. And out comes Jacob. Now he has enough with Soren and Jacob to run over that Renee. And potentially get a card, but we saw Stephan does have Divine. Stephan will let it go here. Probably Divine the Jacob, whatever he tries to get. Oh, he has Exodus, even better. So I'm not sure what happened here, but I guess our camera ran out of batteries. This was a very long day. This is about 10 hours in, and I don't have the end to this match. But Stephan Gray was the winner, and he will move on to the grand finals, and you'll see who his opponent will be after the next video. So in an intense holy versus holy battle, Stephan Gray just barely takes the win, it looks like, and moves on. And now we'll finish up top 4 before getting into the grand finals of the Demon Rush Championship.